Eric, you there? I hope. Pulling you up on the screen, Eric. All right, if you guys are there, if you can go ahead and sign in at the link here, the GP1, natekellogg.com/GP1, and then the session link here with maps, and then our back channel link as well. Oops, sorry. Awesome, and I'm seeing some people signing in already. This is great. Just waiting on a couple more people to finish that survey. Again, if you've already finished that, you can go to the second link for maps and then the back channel as well. All right, so as the last few people finish up, I guess I'll go ahead and introduce myself as well. This is a little, hello, I hope you can see me. This is a little odd because I Can't see you. I can't hear you. I'm presenting from my home in New Orleans, although as hopefully you can see behind me, I've got Maine with me here. That's a map of Rockland Harbor and Vinyl Haven, which I haven't been to in a few years, but trying to keep some Maine down here in New Orleans. It's brought a little bit cooler weather these past few days, which is good. So it's only in the 90s. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at Google Maps, and we're going to have sort of two facets to this, generally looking at how to explore with Google Maps, and then also how to create with Google Maps. And those are our two focuses for this session. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my face off so I can screen share, and you can see my screen. The best way to communicate with me if you run into a problem, if my screen goes down, if you can't see something or you're confused, would be to go to our back channel, which is called Today's Meet. This is an area where if you type in your nickname, you'll be able to post a question or a comment. I have this on a different screen so that I can see it, excuse me, throughout the session. So if something goes down, if something doesn't work, or if you're confused and you want to ask a question, this would be the best way to do that right now. So, and again, the link here is todaysmeet.com/GAFE 2015. Cool. All right. And just a little bit about me, just so you know, I am a Google certified trainer. For those of you that were at last year's GAFE Peak, I was up there for that. And generally I'm from New England, but live in New Orleans currently, which is why I'm doing this virtually. So taking a quick look at our summary here, this is a Google form that I just gave you to see what people are doing. The great thing about Google Forms is that I can see immediately what kind of users we are. So this is actually amazing. I've never seen this before. 100% of us are the same, classified ourselves as occasional Google Maps users. That's great. And we had some information that I'm going to come back to about where you live, but we'll come back to that in just a little bit. So moving to the document, this document that you see here, I use this link because it's a shortened link. It's better than making a bit.ly. I spent $12 to get my name on a website so that you didn't have to wonder if it's a capital I or number one. But this link will be live constantly. You can access it whenever you need to. This document really includes all the information I'm going to go through. This is going to be very much a hands-on sort of session. I'm going to be showing you rather than talking you through a document. But this document should be your place to go for support. So if we're talking about how to create with Maps Engine, if you find that in the table of contents here, you can click on it and it will take you to that page 15 here in the document where we do that. And so if you get lost or you need something, scroll back to the top, click a link, and you'll be able to find it. So this is what the document is that we're going to be referring to for most of the session. All right. And with that, seems like we're good to go. Let's jump in. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head to Google Maps, maps.google.com. And I would hope if you're doing the session, you want to do this with me. And I do appreciate if you're asking questions and bothering me while we're doing this so we can make sure that this works best for you. First thing we're going to start with is what we're seeing here in terms of just our general layout. And you'll see in the top left corner here, we've got our search button. And our search button, also known as the Omnibox, is really helpful because we can search for specific places, we can search for addresses, we can search as like a Google search and try to find, for example, restaurants in our area. And it also is going to remember what we've done. One of my favorite parts about Google Maps is that this will transfer anything I do on my computer is going to be remembered by my phone and by my iPad and by my school computer. So anytime I'm logged into Google Maps, I'll be able to pull up exactly what I've searched in the past, which I think is really helpful. So I can know, oh, what was that place called? For example, what's the mechanic that I need to go back to? Oh, there it is. I've searched for it before. So I'm going to start just by searching. We're here in New Orleans, and I can actually find my exact location by starting by hitting this little tiny button in the bottom corner here where it says show your location. And I'm going to zoom my screen in a little bit, so hopefully that helps you see. So this button here, if I click it, it's going to start blinking. And when it turns blue, it means it's found where I am. So you can see exactly creepily where I am currently. And this gives me my immediate location, which is nice, so I know where I am. For me, I'm going to look for, let's go for something here in New Orleans. I'm gonna look for the Superdome. I started to type Superdome and immediately this comes up. Mercedes-Benz Superdome. It reminds me that there's a corporate owner of this already. And so either I can click enter and it's just gonna search for Superdome, or I can click on the actual location. And notice it has a little pin right next to it. That means this is an actual location that I can click on. And it's gonna show me the exact spot of the Superdome. But not only is it going to show me this, it's also going to give me a lot of information. So you notice on the left side here, all of a sudden, all this new information has come up that wasn't there before. One thing is it's going to tell me the address. It's going to give me the option of getting directions, of saving it for later, so I can go back to it and in my saved locations, which is great for places like where you work, where you go often, places that you'll need to get directions to often. That can be really helpful. And even the website and the phone number. I actually find that if I want to call a pizza place, the best way to find the phone number is to search in my phone in Google Maps, because it will automatically show up with that specific location, which is really helpful. So the other thing I notice is it says send to device. If I click this, that means it is going to send this location to Google Maps on my phone. It knows that I've logged into Google Maps on my phone. So it knows, yeah, that you're good to go. You can choose to access it there instead of having to access it by searching it on my phone as well. So automatically it's already giving me that option, which is really helpful. All right, and I'm just checking, make sure we don't have any questions right now. It looks like we're still pretty good to go, so I'm gonna keep moving. But feel free to just even yell into the today's meet slow down if you need to. As you can see right here, we still have nothing in the chat. So we'll keep moving. Below the basic information about the Superdome, you also see it has photos. So this is a collection of photos that are not made by Google necessarily, but posted by other people like you and me, who maybe will go to a football game, take a picture, upload it to Google Plus, and have it be accessible for others to view. So this is a good way of getting a quick idea of a location, or be able to see multiple angles of the same place from different views that have been sort of crowdsourced. With that, they also put ratings. I'm not sure why they feel the need to rate the Superdome. It's an amazing place. Although, side note, it does win Best Bloody Mary in all of the city of New Orleans every year, which says something to you. But it also has reviews here. So if you want to read reviews, this is sort of like a Yelp or a Zagat or Zagat, whatever they call it, survey. To be able to see what people have said. And even here, you can see immediately, oh, here are some reviews. WrestleMania apparently was good in the stadium. Good to know. Quick facts below that. This is going to give me, what does Wikipedia say about it? So maybe I'm just wanting to get a general idea about it. Immediately, I can get that information. And then upcoming events. It's even going to show me, oh, well, here's when their next football game is. Here's when a concert's coming up, etc., which is also nice. Another feature with the search that I love is that you can also search around the Superdome. So in this case, I've already clicked on Superdome. We're here. Maybe I want to say, well, where am I going to go to a bar before the game? I want to get a drink before I go into the stadium. So I can say search nearby and say bars. And it's going to say, okay, well, it says New Orleans, so there are bars everywhere, but specifically based on where you're searching, not on where you are currently, but where you're searching. So then I can zoom in. I can see there are other places here. These apparently are in the Superdome, which isn't as helpful. And you might find a place like, oh, who knows, Sazerac Bar, classic place in New Orleans that you have to visit if you're there. Notice with this one, it even shows me the hours of when it's open, which is pretty cool too. Another weird thing with our search, and this is something that I have to show you to know that Google's watching you. If I type in the Louis Armstrong New Orleans International Airport, here it is. Notice, by the way, this came up with a what looks like a time symbol, not a marker, because it's showing me that, oh, you've already searched this before. This is in your search history. So that comes up right away. If I click on this, not only is it going to show me, again, more information, where is this located, send it to my device, but now it also is pulling this information here. It is using my email to say, oh, you are going to be flying to Boston 4 more times this year because you have weddings for all of your family back in Boston. So here are my flights, even the confirmation numbers. Even I can click and see the email. It's going to open that up for me automatically, all right here. So as creepy as this is, it's actually kind of nice if you're thinking, oh, wait, when is that flight anyways? I searched for the airport. Here it is. It's also even going to notify me with a notification that my flight is on time, which is pretty impressive. And I'm going to pause here. We've got a quick question coming from our today's meet. Thank you to Sarah for using this. Search in another language. That's a great question. Sarah, I actually don't know the answer to that, but that seems like something we should be able to find out. Maybe try plugging in something in a different language and see what it comes up with. I'm not sure. That's a really good question. Haven't run into that problem before. Okay, so moving back, another thing we can do with our locations, we can also see obviously with directions. So if I'm clicking on Louis Armstrong Airport, I want to know when I'm going to get there. New Orleans is notorious for having really bad traffic going in and out of the suburbs, like most cities are. And so when I look up directions right now at 10 a.m., I can search by my location, which is because I already clicked on the show my location button. I can also click on home or work, which notice I've already added in personally so that I can have them constantly there immediately. Those are the first ones that show up for directions, or it'll show me based on other places that I searched recently. In this case, let's say I want to leave from work. I'm going to click on work. If I leave right now, it's going to take me 20 minutes. I'm going to cruise, or 30 minutes in this case. I'm going to cruise there. It's pretty easy to get there. That's not normal though. We all know if I leave in 6 hours, it's probably going to take me a lot longer, but I don't know how much longer, and I want to know how much longer. So underneath the directions, where it says leave now, I can actually say, you know what, I want to get there by the time of my flight, which is about 4 p.m. So if I say 4 p.m. and I know that flight is coming up, it's actually, I can say the specific date, right? It's going to be September 4th. Now it's actually changed. It said, wow, look at all these different ways you could go. It actually is now rerouting me off of I-10, saying that would take me way too long because it might take me forever. It might take me up to an hour. The shortest way is going to be taking this Earhart Expressway. So it actually changed it based on the fact that I was trying to look up what the traffic will look like at a certain time. In terms of using this in class, obviously this is more of a personal thing, but in class, what we can also do, if I click out of this and I click our menu button here, I can turn on traffic, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. But now I can also not only turn on traffic, on the bottom here where it says live traffic, I can say I want typical traffic. And I want it for a Thursday at 4 o'clock. What does typical traffic look like? What about Thursday at 9 o'clock, right? So you can actually turn this on and off, toggle it on and off to see based on your actual time when you're going to be, what the directions will be in terms of traffic and how bad that will be based on your time. And I can turn that off just flipping that switch. Sticking with our menu, bicycling. This is another thing that's pretty cool. So if I click on bike, I can see where bike routes are in the city. For me as a social studies teacher, this becomes an interesting conversation about which neighborhoods are chosen to be able to have bike routes and not, in terms of what the city values or thinks it values in terms of who would use them. And you can see based on the darkness where certain bike routes are that are safer than others, which can be really helpful if you're moving around the city. One thing that's not showing up for me right now is transit. If you're in Boston, you pull up transit, it's going to show you where trains are and when you can catch them, which is pretty cool as well. And we can also switch to our terrain view here to be able to see, and I'm going to turn off the bike lanes, but our terrain view to see topographic information, which for New Orleans means it's flat as flat can be. So there's not a lot to see there. Let's all switch to Earth though. So if you're playing along with me, move to the Earth mode and you're going to see some interesting stuff that Google has created with Google Earth. One thing, obviously, you notice the layout is different. It's satellite imagery of the city of New Orleans. But I also have a couple options here. If I zoom in here, let's say I want to take a look at the Superdome. So here's the Superdome. You can see it from the sky. Pretty cool to see. But let's say I want to get more of a horizon view of the layout of the city for this. On the right side, you'll notice there are two new buttons that have been added. So above let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it. Above my show your location button, there is a tilt the view button, as well as rotate the view. These options allow you to have a much better look at what you're looking at from the city. So in this case, if I want to zoom in, but I don't like looking on top of the Superdome. I want to see what it looks like from the side. If I press the tilt button, it's going to angle it a little bit. If I press it again, it's going to angle it even more. Whoa, there I'm seeing Lake Pontchartrain there and the Mississippi River. Let me zoom in a little bit on the Superdome. So now I'm getting a much cooler look, at the Superdome and the Smoothie King Center, which is one of the most ridiculous names for a NBA franchise stadium that I've ever seen. Looking at this now, if I say, well, this is cool, but I actually want to be able to see with the background of the central business district, I can click the rotate the view button. Oops, I went the wrong way. Let me go all the way around. And now all of a sudden I'm seeing the Superdome with the city. I can see the Mississippi River in the background. And this is getting a new view that's a little bit different. Again, this is all 3D, which is pretty cool. So I can zoom in even closer, get an even better look at what it looks like on top of the Superdome, or that beautiful Mercedes-Benz lettering in Times New Roman on the top. So pretty cool to be able to do that. Let's say I flatten back out. So now I'm in flat tilt view looking at the top of the Superdome. And I'm going to zoom way out. So I'm just going to keep on zooming, which I can also do with my Mac with 2 fingers. I can drag and zoom out. But I'm going to zoom, zoom, zoom. Let's reorient ourselves. So notice I click the compass button. It's going to reorient me. And if I zoom out, I start to see, oh, here's the globe, and I can kind of spin the globe a little bit. If I zoom out even more, I can zoom the whole thing. You can see all those saved locations I have for specific restaurants in Barcelona, for example, that I had. You can zoom all the way around the globe. Google Earth, pretty simple. But if I zoom out even more, I get some different views. So right here, now I've zoomed out this much, now I can see exactly where the sun is hitting the Earth. All I did was zoom out. You can see what it looks like in terms of the light patterns, about where cities are existing on the other side of the world. And I can see literally right now, where is the sun hitting, which it feels like it's hitting directly on New Orleans all the time. If I decide, well, this is cool, but I'd like to see maybe some other planets, for example, I can click on these 2 arrows on the bottom here. This is to show imagery. Usually this is just going to be photographs. If I click it right now, though, and notice it's just these 2 little arrows at the bottom, I can say, well, I don't want to look at Earth anymore. I want to look at the moon. And what's it going to do? It's going to allow me to look at the moon. Zoom around. Again, seeing where the sun is hitting it. I'm not sure why that big line is there for the scientists. I hope that's not actually on the moon. I can also take a look at Mars, which is pretty cool too, right? So in terms of studying for science teachers, pretty cool way to interact with and seeing where the sun is hitting it currently right now. Pretty awesome. So zooming back out. And for time's sake, I'm going to try to be a little bit quicker and get us to our creation piece in just a minute. Let's go back to my current location. I'm going to have it zoom in on that by choosing it. So again, I just clicked find my current location. Again, notice that these 2 arrows on the bottom toggle showing images. So I can see a photosphere, for example, here of Lee Circle that's going to be able to allow me to do a 360 view. Lee Circle, one of the controversial statues in the city that we're talking about, whether or not it should be taken down for Robert E. Lee. And I can also go back to map here and say, let's get out of this. One other thing that most people are pretty familiar with is the peg man. And I'm going to go to another touristy part of New Orleans for this. The peg man is this little guy down here that if I drag and drop, it'll show me, oh, you can have him give you a street view wherever you put them. Now notice I can't really put them everywhere. Wherever these blue lines are, that means I can drop them on there. So if I look out, maybe I'll zoom out a little bit, move down. Okay, let's drop them right here on the Mississippi River. Just off the Mississippi River, actually. So now we're in downtown New Orleans, right? Street view, we've all seen that before. It's pretty cool. Now, if I want to see something with street view that's a little different, so I'm outside of That's not Cafe du Monde, but right near Cafe du Monde. We can zoom a little bit closer up here. Okay. So here is North Peter Street. For those of you that have been in New Orleans, you've definitely driven down this street. Cafe du Monde is down there. Notice that in my street view, it's giving me information on the top here of my location, but it's also giving me this weird indication of when this picture was taken. This was actually taken in April of this year. And the little timer here is showing me that, oh, there are actually more images from the street view that were taken prior to April 2015. So if I click on this, I can say, well, what did it look like in March of 2015, January, March of 2011, June 2008, April 2007. And if I click the plus sign, it's going to shoot it in here, and we can see, how different is it? Which for New Orleans, it's a pretty interesting time to look at comparing 2007, just a couple of years after the storm, with today. So again, I can toggle that to be able to see locations, especially with structures that are being built. This is great for like Olympic stadiums or World Cup stadiums, things like that. If I want to click back out, I can click this arrow and it's going to take me back to the street so I can see what's above. So I'm pausing here to take a quick look at today's meet, see if we have any questions. Okay, still pretty good. I'm going to assume, since you guys can't talk back to me on this, that we're still pretty good where we are. One other thing I want to show you with our Pegman, as we keep moving here, if I pull up the Pegman, notice that it says below here, it says Street View, Photosphere, and See Inside. This is a pretty cool feature. So if I've posted photospheres on this area, I'm going to be able to pull them up and see what other people have. Photospheres are those 360-degree photos of a location. If I drop the Pegman right now on the See Inside option, it's actually taking me to what is a street view inside this person, what looks to be actually the cathedral right there. So I can actually walk around, and you can do this with museums. You can do this with a number of famous places. If you want your kids to go to the Louvre, for example, don't bother sending them to France, although if you can, that's a good idea. Instead, you can have them actually walk around and look at the paintings. So this is the 1850 house actually right next to Jackson Square that we're looking at here. So again, kind of cool they can do this inside of buildings of famous locations as well. With that, we're going to actually move. I'm going to show you about my maps. So now we're going to move to a little bit about the creation, which will help you. So looking here on our Google Maps, if you click the menu button, you'll see that below the options of what you're looking at, you can see My Maps. So I'm going to click on My Maps. And what it's going to pull up immediately are, here are some old maps that you've created. These maps are also currently in Google Drive. So I can actually access these in my folders in Google Drive, which is kind of nice as well. And if I click on, let's say, New Orleans restaurants here that I created before for another session, which clearly didn't pull up all the restaurants, but it has a pizza place here. It shows me my locations that I included here. Specific information. So La Boulangerie is here. Notice I actually changed it to a pizza, which I'll be able to show you how to do in just a minute. And with my maps, we can make our own maps as well. So for this, it says see all your maps or create. In this case, I'm going to try to create a new map. And again, this is something you can do along with me if you'd like. Otherwise, all the directions are still in this document for you to see if you'd like to. And if you remind me at the end, I'll show you a photosphere example that I took with my students on a class trip as well, so you can see that. For this, what do we want to call this? Let's do another New Orleans restaurants one, because that's what we're feeling right now. I can add a description, do whatever I want, save it. Okay, I've got it named. Here it is. With this map, what I want to do is I want to obviously add locations, and I can do this a number of ways. First is through the Omnibox. So if I'm looking at this, I want to think about New Orleans restaurants. My favorite restaurant is called Boucherie. And if I type this in, notice that it's giving me a number of pins right here and then a search. So it's saying you can search places with that name, or you can choose one of these pins. Now, of all these pins, you can tell which one I'm talking about, Boucherie on Jeanette Street. If I click that, it has found the location, but it has not added it to my map. So notice it's right here showing up, Boucherie, it's in my list, but it's actually not underneath this layer. In order for a location to be added to the maps, it has to be under that layer. So for me, if I click on it, notice it asks me, oh, do you want to add to map? In this case, I do. When I click add to map, it now has disappeared from above the layer and is now in the layer. So now I can see, okay, it's part of this layer. I'm going to rename this restaurants so that I can see that this location is here. Let's add one more just for good sake. Pizza Delicious, best pizza place in the city. Okay. Again, I'm going to click on it, add to map. So now I've got these two locations, both under the restaurants layer. I can add up to 3 layers for this. But I don't really like that Boucherie and Pizza Delicious are the same color because they're not the same kind of restaurant. So if I want to change that, I can scroll over the name and this little paint bucket comes up. And if I click on the paint bucket, it's going to ask me, well, what do you want to color it? So I could say, oh, no, it should be a blue pin, or I want it to be a star, or I can say I want it to be something else. So I can click on more icons. Now there are classic icons here, obviously the standard ones. You can add your own as well. If you have a URL for an icon, you can plug it in here. One cool place to do that is a thing called the Noun Project, which are free icons that you can use. Also, iconfinder.com is a great one as well. But this is usually a great way to have your students categorize. So when I want to have students maybe making Civil War battlefields, maybe they're adding specific events that happened during the Civil War, they might be different based on specific ways of categorizing them, and I want them to just show that visually. So they're going to choose a specific icon for that. So in this case, let's just scroll up, and this is not pizza. Boucherie is not pizza. Let's do this little fancy bowl thing. So now it's that fancy bowl. And I'm going to pause because it looks like I've had Melanie here has fallen a little bit behind. Let me make sure you guys can see this. To add to the map. So I'm going to add one more location to show you how to add to the map. Melanie said you want to see repeat the process to add a location to the map. I'm going to start in the Omni box here, the search box, to type in a location. So I'll do the famous Commander's Palace. Notice it's coming up already as the top option, but I could also search if I wanted to. But I'm going to click the option for it. Now it has shown up on my screen, but it's not a part of my restaurants layer. So I need to add it to my restaurants layer. To do that, I need to click on the location and then say add to map. Now it's been added to my layer. Hope that makes sense. Melanie, if you're still confused, let me know. We can go back through that again. Pizza Delicious, I want to change that one as well. I'm going to change the icon so that it's going to be let's make it a pizza slice because it is a pizza place. Okay, so now I've got, oops, get a little messed up here, sorry. Now I've got the pizza place. I've got the, what looks like a bowl of pho, but is there, and then the little red dot for this. And I know my screen's showing a little off because I've been zooming in and out. I apologize. Okay, so one other option though is, let's say that I have these locations and I actually want to order them. So maybe I'm working in science or math and I want these to be based on a specific order. I can change where it says individual styles. So if I click individual styles, that means I don't necessarily want it to be the pizza place has a pizza, the other place has a bowl, whatever. I actually want to make it uniform based on specific criteria. So for me, I'm going to say, instead of individual styles, I'm going to say uniform style. Uniform style means they're all going to have the exact same thing. So I want them all to be the same. And if I close this, notice it just says all items are all red right here. If I click on uniform style again, I can actually say, instead, I want to make it sequence of color and letters. When I do this, it's going to change them to be in an order. So let me show you when I close it. Now Boucherie is a red A. Pizza Delicious is a yellow B. Commanders is a green C. So now it's automatically ordered these. If you have hundreds of locations, this is a pretty good way of getting them back in order. Let me quickly pause. Melanie, it looks like we're still not able to add to the map. Maybe Eric could help you out right now, or just making sure that you're in the My Maps, that you're creating one. Showcase. Thank you, Eric. Let's try to figure that out. Hi, guys. Sorry. Hopefully, Eric, you can let me know if that's better. I don't know if that changed anything. I know there's a little delay between what you guys see and what I have. I'm hoping you're seeing full screen right now. You're supposed to be seeing full screen, so I do apologize if you're not seeing full screen already. Okay. I'm going to wait till I see that, but when I see Eric's comment, I'll take a look at that. Continuing to move, and I'm going to try to make this bigger as well, so hopefully that'll help you to see in case we're having trouble. The sequence of colors, again, this is all how I'm choosing to change the colors of everything. You're probably going to stick with individual styles, but you can have those three options, so that's just something for you to know. Now, one other cool way of adding more locations to your map is by importing a spreadsheet. And in this case, what I'm going to do is add a new layer because I don't want my spreadsheet of what I'm going to add to be under restaurants because that doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to click Add Layer. Eric is telling me that that did not change anything. I'm not sure why. I'm sorry that you guys aren't seeing everything. Let me take a quick look and see if I can fix this somehow. Start over with this. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not showing you guys the whole thing. It should be showing you everything. Okay, I'll just keep trying to make it larger to hope that'll help. So again, I clicked the Add Layer button to add a new layer. So I have my restaurants layer, and then I have my untitled layer here. With my restaurants layer, if I don't want to see this right now, let's say I want to hide this, I can go ahead and actually click this box, and it disappears. So the locations will disappear. That C is still there just because of my zoom. So the restaurants layer can disappear in case I'm saying I don't want to look at it right now. I can still pull it up if I want to, but I'm just going to hide it for right now. Under this new layer, I'm actually going to put GAFE peak so we can see this, because I have some interesting information from you all. I'm going to import a spreadsheet. And in this case, I'm going to say, well, actually my spreadsheet's already in Google Drive because what I'm going to use is the form that you all filled out to start this session. So if I click Google Drive and I click recent, it's going to show me, hopefully, the most recent spreadsheet that I have. That appears to be this one right here. Let's see. There we go. GAFE Peak 2015 Sign-in Maps Workshop. Let me double check that that's the right one. Okay, here it is, GAFE Peak 2015. So this you can see is a spreadsheet that has all this information that you all gave me. I tried not to ask for too much, but at least I have the city and state where you grew up. Now in my map that I've been creating, I'm selecting that same spreadsheet to import the data from it. If you're someone who does pretty advanced work with data, you can actually do even more crazier things with what's called fusion tables. And that's a really great way of being able to bring in, for example, if you want to look at per capita, the amount of coffee created in different countries around the world, and you want to see a span around the world of all the different countries by how much coffee they produce. You can bring that in, which is pretty cool. In this case, I'm doing a really simple one, which is just where were you born? So for this, it's saying choose the columns to position your place marks. So how are they going to know from this spreadsheet where my locations are going to be for this? And this is the in what city and state did you grow up? These are the locations. So for this, I'm going to go to in what city and state did you grow up? And that's the one that they're going to use to be able to find the locations that I'm adding. Let me zoom out so I can see this, sorry. Next is, well, how do I want to title this? So in this case, if I want to title it by your email address or something, in this case, I'll just put name so we can see based on who you are. And what it's doing is importing all that information into this specific layer. Now it tells me on the left side here, 3 rows couldn't be shown on the map. So I'll have to take a look at this data to see why couldn't it show these points. Maybe that we didn't enter in names, or maybe locations weren't there. I'm not sure what the problem is, but I'll have to take a look at that. But in this case, look what's happened. We all of a sudden can see all these points where we grew up on the map, and you can see by the person. Now, don't worry, I'm not sharing this map with the rest of the world, but you have this here. We can see all this information based on each person, where they grew up, in what parts. We've got Deb coming all the way from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Nice, Deb, you're halfway to Louisiana. And again, I can also change the styles for these. So if I want to say, no, I want this to be a sequence based on the names, we could also do that. So it's a pretty cool way of bringing in information, especially with students, even younger students, that if you just want to see, like, where did you go this summer? Type in locations, plotted on the map. Or for other students that maybe are doing data collection on their own in maybe a science class or a math class or any class really, that are asking questions of their other students and then creating a map based on those responses. It's a pretty cool way of importing a whole lot of information all at once. Another way that we can add locations on this, and we'll focus on Maine now. I'm just zooming in while we're doing this. Is to be able to add specific locations or a box or sort of a shape using these buttons underneath our Omnibox. So I'm actually going to hide our GAFE peak list. So notice the restaurants and the GAFE peak are hidden right now. And I'm going to add one more layer. And we'll just title this layer Other for right now. So now I'm selected in that layer, so I know whatever I'm going to add is in this layer. Notice this blue bar on the side is showing me that you're in the other layer. I'm not in GAFE Peak or in restaurants. And what I can do is first I can add a marker. So let's say I want to pick out somewhere down here. There we go, Kennebunkport. Okay, if I want to add a marker, I can click on marker, and now it's giving me these crosshairs, and I'll try to pick this little edge right here and save it. Now I've just added a specific location that actually has longitude and latitude and not a specific town name. So in case I'm actually wanting to name them myself, I can add it by using that little marker. Also, if I click on this marker, which I can also do for my other locations, I can edit this by clicking the edit button right here, this pencil. So again, I clicked on the marker, I can click edit and change the name of it or change the description. If I click this little camera button, that means I want to add an image or a video. So if I say, okay, I want to add an image, but I don't feel like finding one on my own, I'm just going to search for one real quick. Look at the gaudiness that has become Kennebunkport. I don't even think this is in Kennebunkport. That's definitely in Portland. Oh, well. That image is now going to be saved in this app. Oh, it actually showed up. These sometimes disappear. This image is saved with the location. So if you click on it, it shows up with the image. I could also put in a video if I wanted to. On the map, I could also click this last button here to add directions if I wanted to, or just delete it flat out. So that's how I can just add a regular location. But let's say I want to add something a little bit different. Maybe I want to add, for example, a large swath of this Rachel Carson National Wildlife Refuge. I can add a location by drawing a line. So next to the add marker button, there is draw a line. In this case, I can choose line. I can do a driving route, a biking route, a walking route, whatever I want. For me, I want to do a line or a shape. So if I start out here, I click for my little spots along here. This could be a line. Go out to West Street. It's my little sneaky back road to get to Saco. Going all the way out to the, what is that? Granite Point? Yeah, Granite Point. Beautiful place. Go along the coast. Notice right now this is a line, but if I click on the end of it, going back to the original point, it becomes a shape, a polygon. This is not a perfect rendition of Rachel Carson's Refuge, but it is a part of it. Notice that now that I've saved it, it's named. It's a weird shape, which is what I wanted it to be. And if I click on it, it tells me, well, this is a total of 5.1 square miles. And the outline, the line itself, it covers 10.6 miles, which is pretty cool as well to give me that information. I can edit it like normal. I can add photographs, all that. But one other thing that's a little bit different about this shape is that since it's not a specific icon, I can change the colors and all that as well. So in this case, if I go over to Rachel Carson and I see the little paint bucket, and again, I'm trying to keep in mind you guys can't see as well, so I apologize. Rachel Carson here, here's my paint bucket. Now it's giving me options for colors. So if I click on purple, it's going to make that purple, and transparency. So if I want it to be totally see-through or just a huge block of purple, I can change that. And how thick the border is. So if I really need to see this from a distance, from a map that's way, way out, then I can see that as well. So thinking about how I might use this in my classroom, I use this for when my students mapped Japanese internment camps during World War II and the specific areas on the West Coast where Japanese citizens or Japanese Americans were not allowed to live. So that was a way to say, well, here, show this huge swath of land using a shape, which is a pretty cool way to do that. Last but not least, you can see it says add directions here, and it also says measure distances and areas. Again, I'm looking for how to help out the math teachers here, if there are. You can see that I can click on a location, and it starts to add up the miles to get to another location. And if I double click, it'll show me completely what my route is. So at the end there, I just double clicked and it stopped the route right there. So those are all things that I can add to my map. Like anything else in Google, this is also something that can be shared. So you can have students work collaboratively. So notice the share button right here. I can add other students who can have editing rights or viewing rights just like normal. And I can also embed this on a website. I've done that with class websites. If I click this, these three dots here, this menu button, I can embed my site on my site, and it will give me an iframe HTML code to be able to plug it in and have it be interactive, which is pretty cool. You'll see this for even schools, for example, that maybe have multiple campuses that they just want to show. Here are all of our locations, and it's really easy for someone to zoom in and out and click on the locations and see pictures and learn more about the schools that way. Also seen this done by students who are sharing information maybe for public entities in town. So for the local wildlife reserve or someone who's creating a walking tour of a city, to be able to have those locations mapped and imaged and labeled and have the route given. Pretty cool way to do that as well, because you can also add in videos and all that other good stuff as well. So those are the basics of our maps, right, where they are now. Again, I do apologize that you all weren't able to see everything in that if it wasn't as clear. Again, I do remind you that the session document here includes all this information as well. And we don't have time to go through all of these, but we will go through a few of the sort of extra features, the fun stuff. But before I do that, I want to open it up to questions and make sure that I'm helping out anybody who's seemingly lost, because I know I'm not there to be able to answer all your questions. So opening up to questions. If you have questions, typing into our today's meet. I'll wait just a minute here, see if any come through, because I know there's a delay. And then from there, we'll move. Okay. While I'm waiting, I can still see on my other screen if you're posting questions. So I will interrupt if there is a question that comes up or anything that you're curious about. So please do post those. I can also follow up afterwards if that's helpful as well. Moving on this document down to the other ways to use maps here. If we click on that, there are a number of specific examples of things that we can do that are some just fun, others that are actually pretty exciting. Great. So Smarty Pins. This is kind of a fun one that plays with geography. It's a map quiz, and they're trying to have you guess what the specific location is. You can also do this through the game GeoGuessr, right, which is linked right here. That's a great way of having your students sort of use 20 questions almost to figure out, based on what we can understand from the picture, where we think this location is. So what types of trees do we see? What does the weather look like? What does the ground look like? What does the altitude seem to be? All that kind of business that you can figure out from a picture, trying to figure out a location. But Smarty Pins is sort of the fun Google version of that. Tour Builder is a fantastic tool that is great for really any subject area where you might do a story of something. Tour Builder allows students to make what is a story created through a map, where if you are the participant, it means that you will be taken to each location according to what the person who created it has told you to go to. We did this example for our students who went to visit Bunkie, Louisiana, which is where Solomon Northup was a slave for his novel, which became his memoir, 12 Years a Slave. We did a tour builder for what our class trip was and what places we visited along the Solomon Northup Trail. And so it would zoom out and zoom back into the locations and then have text and images accompany it, which is a pretty cool way to do that. And you can see some examples on the website here. There's a cool one for the Revolutionary War, for example, and then these newer ones here where it will take you through each location of a story. So again, great for history, also certainly great for English as well. Fusion tables we talked about really briefly. That's a good way for those of you that are really data nerds and want to jump into that. It's really impressive, the sort of public data that they use to create maps. Google Maps Gallery. This is, again, I'm coming from a history background, as you can tell. So what I love about Maps Gallery is it has things like a National Geographic version of the Civil War map that they create, laid out over a Google map. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Again, these are basically just maps that others have created. Let me see if it'll pull up correctly. Yeah, here's the Civil War map. You can see the example on here. So they're basically superimposing maps on top of Google Maps, which means you can do all of the zooming and in and out that you want to, which is pretty cool. I'm not sure why I'm not coming up with the National Geographic one right now, but you can see the example right here. Here's another example of population and information like that pulled from the World Bank. And you can create them as well, share them, embed them, all that. Panoramio is a place where images are stored with Google Maps. So you can see, like, if I went on a trip to Antarctica and I posted some random pictures online, Panoramio will show them and I'll be able to see what that location looks like because they're geotagged. So a pretty cool way to see the world. Photospheres is the other way to do that, and that's one that is really, really cool. If you have an iPhone or an Android, you can create your own photospheres. I will say as a caveat that photospheres are currently sort of getting shifted into the regular Google Maps. I think they're trying to consolidate all these features. So you might not see it as its own thing or own website anymore in the time to come. I actually don't know. We'll see if this actually works. But photospheres are really cool to be able to share a location from 360 degrees. And so if these are the examples of it. Let me see if I can pull up my own photospheres. And actually, I'll walk you through this so you can see me while I'm doing this. This will be helpful. From this menu button, I'm just back in Google Maps again. So here I am looking at a map of the United States. If I click on under My Maps where it says Contributions, this is actually new as well. It's going to show me what reviews I've written. So if I'm one of those Yelpers writing reviews, but also what photos have I contributed. So here are photos that I have contributed to Google Maps that I've uploaded myself. This one, it's up to 560. That's pretty cool. From Pigs Center for Wildlife Education. It's going to zoom in here. This is a photosphere that I took for a sunrise hike with our 8th graders last year. So we decided to hike to the very top of this mountain to be able to see out in Pigs National Forest in North Carolina in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I took a 360-degree photo of the group just using my phone to be able to see what it's like and to show the parents that, yes, they were not near the edge by any means. But pretty cool way to be able to share that experience with parents. And that's why, as you can see, it already has like 600 views because people have enjoyed being able to see that. I'm not someone who works for Google and needed to post that, nor am I a professional photographer, but this is a pretty cool way to be able to share with the world a specific location. So people are posting these and you're able to access them through Google Maps as well. Google Earth Engine, this is one for the science folks, again, sort of similar to Fusion Tables, but again, a little bit more advanced. Map Dive, this is just a game that Google has created that's fun, that has to do with maps, and the Pegman falling through the sky. Kind of silly. Google Night Walk, now these are some more interesting ones in terms of exploring places. Google Night Walk is at night, discovering a city, walking around, exploring. The Cultural Institute is also pretty cool. The Cultural Institute is taking places that we would want to visit with our students and basically creating street view access for them. So if I want to look at my locations here, you might see some places that you would like to go. So I'm looking, let's click in here on Spain. In Tarragona, this place, not even sure what this is, but I can do a street view walkthrough of this location using the Google Cultural Institute, which is pretty cool. So I think it's still loading here, but you'll be able to walk through it. And they've done some really amazing things with, for example, Machu Picchu, places like that, where you can be able to actually walk through them as opposed to just seeing photographs of them. So they have backpackers with that cool camera on the back of them that are hiking around the world to explore these places. Last couple ones, Google Art Project. We talked about visiting the Louvre with your students. The Google Art Project is the way to do that. You can go to a specific place, a specific museum, and view what's there. So here is, and specifically the reason that I actually like this a lot is that it allows you to basically have an extremely high quality, large format image of a picture, of a painting for students to access. So this is George Washington. I'm not going to be able to find an image this high quality just searching Google. They've taken an extremely high res photograph of this. And it looks like, I'm hoping this will work, but it looks like if I click the Pegman here, it's going to show me where this is in the museum. I'm actually not even sure what museum we're in right now. This might be the National Portrait Gallery. So here I am in the National Portrait Gallery. And I can hide all these pictures below here. I think this is the National Portrait Gallery, maybe I'm wrong. And I can go room by, oh, this is the White House. I can go room by room and see different images. I can click on Clinton, for example, and be able to zoom in and see his image. And I can also see where I am in the White House. So again, this is another part of the Google Cultural Institute, but specifically around art. I'll zoom out, see, this is not too much. But another cool way for students to explore places that otherwise they might not be able to visit. And I'll end with this. We've got 1 minute left. Google Expeditions. If I was there, I would love to show this to you. This is a pretty incredible creation from Google. They've decided that the 3D glasses that are really futuristic and weird are not really something that people are going to use, and that instead they should be able to make them out of cardboard. And so what Google Expeditions has done is allow you to visit a location. You can see these students here who have phones in a cardboard box. through a 360-degree virtual reality view. So if you look up or down, you look up or down within, the coral reefs off of, some famous place and be able to see what the sharks are doing and stuff like that. And the film here, if you get a chance to look at it, is pretty hilarious of all the kids going crazy when they see a shark, for example. And it's a pretty cool way for a teacher to be able to say, okay, now I want everyone to go over here, and it will force them to view a specific part of whatever location they're looking at for virtual reality. So it's pretty cool. We are out of time. There are more resources on the bottom here for how to use Google Maps and sort of lesson ideas and all that. And I would ask if everyone could, to finish this, if you wouldn't mind filling out this survey feedback. I hope this is big enough for you to see. But survey feedback is really, really helpful for me to be able to know how this session was, if it was actually helpful for you, how I can make it more helpful, and what your needs are with that. So with that, I'm done. Thank you guys so much. Please reach out. You can message me through today's meet or email me at my email there, nathan.s.kellogg@gmail.com. But please do reach out with anything that you need. So I hope this was helpful. Thanks, guys. All right. Thanks, guys.